Ahsoka, and the cinematography is lovely again. Look at this shot of Thrawn's ship showing up later in the episode. I mean, someone has an artistic eye and a good feel for shot composition. Or how about this shot of the bad guy's spaceship, the Eye of Sion, after it's jumped between galaxies? And it looks quite pretty, doesn't it? Soaring through space there with its engines flaring. The problem is though, that Disney have again made the cardinal error of trying to do something. They could have gotten away with this in Dream Sequence like last episode, but not now. Now, can you tell me what's wrong with this shot? Well, look at the engine placement on the baddie's ship there. They have 3 engines, each on the right and left, and one at the bottom firing all at once. And if they fired all of these engines for a second or two, as they're doing, I need you to note that none of these engines are directly behind the centre of mass of the ship, and they're not balanced at all. There's one engine at the bottom and no matching engine at the top, which would basically cause their clown donut of a ship to spin uncontrollably through space, presumably while everyone inside gets very sick. They're also in a vacuum, so the engines wouldn't even need to be going all the time, as they are in this shot, unless they were trying to speed up. It's not in an atmosphere, they're in a vacuum. There's no air friction, because there's no air. Now forgive me if I make any mistakes here, because physics isn't exactly my strongest subject, but if the engines were on constant burn, that would be even worse, because as the ring spun, and I'm pretty sure it would spin a lot, the engines would now no longer be facing backwards. They would be at an angle, causing thrust in a different vector. My thinking is that if they fired the engines constantly like this, in reality, they'd end up going around in an ever-shortening spiral, because the speed of rotation should increase over time for as long as they're firing the engines, eventually leaving them spinning almost still in space at an ever-increasing rate, maybe with some small residual forward movement from the engines firing before the ship started spinning wildly. And this tells me that seemingly there's not one single person at Lucasfilm who passed high school physics. Disney Lucasfilm seemingly cannot come up with anything new that isn't effing stupid, not even a new ship design. I've not really seen it covered in Star Wars, but they must have some kind of artificial gravity, because they clearly aren't floating around the inside of their ships when they're in space, and probably something like an inertial dampener from Star Trek, otherwise going to light speed in seconds would just leave humans as a smear on the back wall. Now you see, this is the kind of trouble that Lucasfilm gets into when they try to do things. They should have stuck with dream sequences. But the bad guys are in a new galaxy now, and Ahsoka is presumably coming to the same place, in the mouth of an intergalactic space whale, and here is Ahsoka looking on in wonder at the rainbow-coloured hyperspace. But I suppose she can't see it. I suppose they're looking at a whale's gums right now, and these whales eat gas, I understand. Then why have their mouths got a filter feeding system for sieving out krill? Because that's what that stuff is in the whale's mouth. It's called baleen, and that's what baleen whales have. Where are they finding krill in deep space? And I mean, hitching a ride inside the mouth of an intergalactic space whale. Lucasfilm seemingly cannot come up with anything now that isn't effing stupid. But they're in another galaxy now, so it's in the hands of the creatives. They can do pretty much anything they want. What are they going to find in this new and very isolated region of space? It could be a galaxy where the creatures are highly religious, made of pure energy and communicate with static shocks, or the aliens could be entirely crystalline and fans of stand-up comedy. Or they could find a planet inhabited purely by sentient robots, questioning their own existence. Maybe a species that has a whole different view of the Force. Or they could meet an aggressive alien species whose technology and ships are all organic. They could have aliens who are made from sentient gas and talk by changing colours like a chameleon. Or they could have everything be pretty much exactly the same as the galaxy they just came from, and have sentient, bipedal, snail, turtle, hermit crab things that hide in their shells when threatened. And I mean seriously, you could have done anything at all. The only limits were your imagination, and the result you came up with was almost nothing. This This right here is the product of the collective imaginations of Lucasfilm. Lucasfilm seemingly cannot come up with anything new that isn't effing stupid. Guys, please, put your heads together. Surely one of you can come up with an original idea that isn't effing stupid. At the start of the episode, Ahsoka and the Tenant Bot are inside their ship, inside the mouth of an intergalactic space whale, and Tenant Bot says, "Intergalactic travel within a star whale? Now I really have done it all." And you aren't making it better by having the characters point out how silly it is. Ahsoka has already dropped her Ahsoka the White outfit from last episode, and do you think that's what they were going for? A Gandalf reference? Because she seems pretty much the same after her ordeal as she was before it, and well, her fighting Balon and then dreaming about Anakin isn't quite on the same level of epic as Gandalf fighting a Balrog, is it? And Ahsoka is just so consistently miserable in this series, and what even are her motivations? We're 6 episodes in now and we know almost nothing about her. Where has she been since the Clone Wars? What has she been doing? What are her plans? What are her hopes for the future? What does she want? What makes her happy? What are her character traits? This is the lead character of the show and I have no idea what motivates her. We're now 6 episodes down of an 8 episode show and they still haven't laid the foundation. They then talk about how Sabine went with the bad guys willingly, and Ahsoka gets annoyed and says, Sabine could have ended this. No Thrawn, no war, and I mean, Ahsoka could have ended this. If she'd taken Luke along instead of Sabine, Sabine has been telegraphing that she was more interested in Ezra than saving the galaxy for a few episodes now. Here's a picture of Ahsoka realising that she should have just called Luke. Where precisely is Luke Skywalker right now? Did she try calling him? Was he busy? Does alien milk taste just that good? At least I hope it was milk, but as far as we know, that could have been that alien's reproductive organs. So Ahsoka gets depressed thinking about Sabine and asks Tenant Bot to tell her a story. And he starts.
A long time ago, in a galaxy far, far away.
And what? Why is he saying that? That was for us in the original films to tell us where and when things were supposed to be happening. They can't say that in the canon of the universe because to them, the stories are about their own galaxy. For them, they're not set in a galaxy far, far away. They're set in their galaxy. That doesn't make any sense. Well, it makes no sense unless Tenant Bot is going to start telling stories about our galaxy. I wonder how that would go. Meanwhile, on board the baddie's Clown Donut, Sabine is in a cell, and I'm barely past the title screen with this review, and right away I have a problem with this scene, because I would have taken away all of Sabine's clothes and given her something else to wear. Partly because she could have weapons or equipment hidden in her clothes, and secondly, because her clothes are hideous. And Sabine is just stupidly rude to her captors. She's completely at their mercy and the writers can't help but make her sassy to their faces. And this is a terrible idea. They're very powerful and you've just disrespected them to their faces when they're in front of their men. If they let you go after that, it will be a loss of face in front of their own followers. You're making a very compelling argument as to why they should dispose of you right then and there, and that would be by far the best policy for the bad guys. And Thrawn's ship is a bit of a wreck, as is his men's armour, and I can't help but find myself more interested in where Thrawn has been and what he has been doing than I am in the story of the actual show. What even is the bad guys' plan? They're just going to go back to the original galaxy with the Clown Donut and a knackered Star Destroyer and beat the entire rebel fleet that demolished the Empire at the height of its power. Is that supposed to be their plan? I mean, why not stay here, out of reach of the New Republic, and rebuild? Get the Eye of Sion and use it to ferry Imperial loyalists to the other galaxy where you're safe from the New Republic, and use the time to build a new navy. Unless this new galaxy is incredibly dangerous, more dangerous than the New Republic fleet, I have no idea why they'd even want to go back. Let's see what we have for the cosplay this time. Well, a lot of women like dressing up as Sith with not many clothes on, but I may have to save that for the next video where I have more time. For now, I have whatever's going on here. I'm not sure I even want to know. I wonder if it was her idea and she asked her boyfriend, "Honey, there's something I always wanted to try. I want you to dress as Boba Fett, and I want to be dressed as Leia from the Jabba's palace scene, but with a Mandalorian helmet on. And then later, no honey, it only works for me if you keep the helmet on.
What about the other Jedi spread across the galaxy?
I'm a member of the Imperial Senate on a diplomatic...
You are part of the Rebel Alliance and a traitor. Take her away.